What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first Old Style Angling podcast. My name is Ben Patchell. It's just going to be me today. Next week, I think I'm going to have my co-host, Brandon Schneeberger, with me. He's a fellow Wisconsin angler, and together we're kind of going to do this podcast. And essentially, our goal for the podcast is just to talk about fishing in Wisconsin from all over the state and all species and all year round. So we're going to try and get a really well-rounded approach to fishing throughout the state. Everything from muskies to trout to the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River to all the lakes in between. We're going to try and get a really wide variety of people's input into the podcast, and my idea behind this is to make it more interactive between the listeners and me and Brandon, and I want your guys' input and questions that you can send both of us on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want to reach us. So I'm just going to go over our socials right away. So you can find me at Ben Patchell Fishing on Instagram. And then Brandon is on Instagram as well. Brandon Schnee, Schnee. He's also pretty active on Instagram. So you can find us both there. Send us messages. Tell us what you'd like to fish for. And we're happy to talk with you. So anyway, before I start talking about anything else, I just want to send out another thank you to my good buddy Gray. He's helped me a lot with the technical side of things here and getting everything set up. So just bear with me. This is a new thing for us, but we kind of noticed that there is no good statewide report that's just fishing and is a something that covers all species. So that's kind of our goal with this podcast. A little bit about myself. I am out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. Grew up here fishing on the Mississippi as well as fishing in the trout streams around here. So that's kind of my bread and butter is river fishing and trout fishing as well. But for the last 5 or 6 years, I've really been fishing all over the state of Wisconsin as well as Minnesota and Iowa and the UP. So I travel a lot. And I fish for a lot of different species. But like I said, my specialty, I would say, is trout and panfish, and I do a lot of musky fishing and catfish as well. But everything in between is fair game for me. And so what I wanted to talk about today is I just wanted to talk a little bit about how my year's been going so far and what I've been fishing for and what I've noticed out on the water this year. So this year, I'm sure this is an observation that will be shared by everybody else that spends any amount of time on the water in Wisconsin, is that the water levels have been quite low. Whether you're fishing lakes or rivers, all across the state, it's been the amount of precipitation we've had the last couple months has been very low. There wasn't much for snowmelt this year, and it's just really taken a toll on the flow rates that we've been experiencing on the rivers and streams especially. But this is also affecting lakes with water clarity. And anybody that knows me personally or chats with me about fishing has heard me harp on water quality and water clarity. It's just, for me, the number one factor in determining whether fish will bite or where fish will be. It's for me the number one thing I look at for if I'm going out fishing or looking at a new spot or just looking at a spot for the day. So with the little precipitation that we've had across the state, what that means for me, mainly trout fishing, is that the fish, the big fish, from what I've experienced and what many other trout fishermen know, when the water clarity is too high, when the water's too clear, the big fish, it's tough getting them to bite. And the reason for that is, well, there's lots of factors as to why that is, but one of my theories, main theories, is that, well, trout, their number one enemy in the ecosystem is birds. One of their biggest enemies, I guess, not the number one, but one of the biggest is birds, whether that be herons or any, raptors, any big birds that want to eat them. It gives those fish trouble, and so they know that, and so what they do is they stay in the areas where the water's darker or the water's less clear. So that's why you find a lot of trout in bigger holes, and not as much in areas where it's shallower, and you can see straight down and you can see the fish. You don't see a lot of big fish, especially in those areas. And so when the waters gets muddied up from rains and flooding events, then those bigger fish feel safer getting out of those holes and feeding. So when the water's a little murkier, I feel that you have a much better chance of catching a big trout or a big fish in that water. So with the little rain we've had, it's made it tough to locate the big trophy fish. I do believe that if you have a lure in the water, there's a chance that there's always a chance. You always have a chance of catching a big fish. But when you fish a lot and you fish for trophy fish, then you want to maximize your chance of catching a trophy fish, and that just happens to be when after rain or some kind of event that would generate a murkier water environment for those fish. So that's been kind of a struggle for me this year, is we have not had a lot of rain, and when we do have rain, I really try and get out and get after those fish, and that's been my best days, is right after some rain or even during rain. I had one day this year, probably my best day of trout fishing so far, was in the rain, and it had rained, not, it wasn't like a downpour, but it was a steady, good rain for, almost 2 days. And at the end of that, it just really got those big fish out moving and feeding. So that, has been a struggle this year. But one way that I kind of remedy that, and I've talked with other, with other avid trout anglers around the state, and they seem to kind of share this idea that if you look at the trout streams across the state, you kind of have two main different water types. You got the real mineral enriched bluish water that you see a lot in the driftless area, or the southern part of the state especially, and then you have the real dark acidic water, real stained water that you see more in the northern part of the state, and usually around pineries and those kind of forest types. And so when it's clear like this, when you don't have a lot of rain, what I found is that those darker streams It has to, the amount of water that it takes to create a dark, deep hole. You need a lot less water. So you could have a 3 foot hole that you can't see the bottom because of just the stain of the water. And so when it's, when we're having a week or even 2 weeks without rain, I'm going to be fishing those stained waters a lot more than the clearer blue, more of the driftless style streams. So that has been kind of my remedy for this drought year that we've had, and kind of the way that I get around, just the fish not biting in the clear streams, which I know a lot of people have really been struggling with. But right now, what I'm finding fish with is around the La Crosse driftless area. I've been doing pretty well. I've been fly fishing a lot. I fly fish and spin fish, kind of 50-50. Just depends on how I'm feeling and what stream I'm fishing. There's a lot of factors that involve, what I'm going to do for the day, whether it be fly or on the spinning gear. But anyway, fly wise, in the last couple weeks, with this hot weather, we've been having a lot of bugs hatching, and lately the black foam beetle has been hot for me. A lot of people this time of year and getting into August, you start throwing the hoppers, but a buddy of mine kind of put me on to a black foam beetle instead of throwing hoppers, because we have a lot more crickets and beetles in the driftless area than grasshoppers like you see out west. So, that's something I never thought about, but it's really put a lot more fish on the board for me. Just switching to fishing more of the beetles instead of the hoppers. Otherwise, I do fish a lot of streamers on my fly rod. That's usually what I'm throwing, just to I think it gives you a better chance of catching a bigger fish, and to be honest, they're easier to throw and easier to fish than the little tiny nymphs, when you got to use the strike indicators or some, you got to be a lot more attentive than with a big powerful streamer. So that's kind of what I've been using lately, and what I've been having luck with. On the spinning gear, I've been doing pretty well. I use a lot of spinners, Panther Martins and Meps in the summer. They replicate a bug a little bit better than a crankbait, or a jerkbait, which is kind of more of a spring and fall thing for me. So your classic number 9 Panther is kind of my go-to on most streams. For me, a lot of people might disagree with me, but I don't think color matters too much. I have probably 2 colors of spinners that I mainly fish, and that's gold and black and silver. So that's in my opinion all you really need, the only colors you really need. But that's like I said, it's just an opinion, so don't take it too seriously. But that's what works for me, trout fishing this year. But otherwise, I've been spending some time out on the river, on the Mississippi, pan fishing lately, doing pretty good on crappies, which in the summer, if it's hot and you just want to get out and catch some fish, panfish are always there. And for me on Pool 8 here, I've been noticing it's been tough the last couple of years to, especially the last 2 years, to find the big crappies. I've been finding them deep this year, but there's still just a lot of those 8-inch clones. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it feels like you can catch 100 of those before you catch one big crappie. And not sure what exactly is going on with the crappies. there could be a lot of factors that go into the year classes and the predation. But I've just noticed not only here on the Mississippi, but on other lakes, on Pete and Well this winter. Personally, I think I caught 2 crappies, and I know from what I heard from other anglers, it was just a bad year for them. But starting to get them here on the Mississippi, just what I usually use is just a minnow and a jig, or small crankbaits is something else that I've been throwing a lot this year, throwing into snags, and I've been having a lot of good luck with those. In particular, the Strike King. Strike King makes a little, I think they call it a bitsy minnow, and that has been just absolutely tremendous for me. It runs right every time, which is the big thing for the little crankbaits, is that sometimes you get some that just they don't want to run right, and I've just had great luck with that Strike King bait. So been really impressed with that so far. Otherwise, catfishing, that's been kind of slowed down lately with the last couple weeks. It started out real hot for me personally, and for a couple other guys here on the Mississippi catching flatheads. It was a good early season. Early June was real hot, so that helped. But lately it's started to slow down a little bit. So I've been making my way back to the stream as the weather cools off a little bit. It's tough to trout fish when it's 90 some degrees out, which I'm sure many others will agree with me there. But and then muskie fishing for me this year, I haven't gone out a ton. I think I've probably been out maybe 6 times since the Southern opener, and I think I've caught 5 muskies this year, and they've all been small. I haven't had a good fish all year, and just muskie fishing, as many people know in Wisconsin, and many muskie fishermen in general, when the weather gets too hot, you just cannot target those fish. If the water is over 80 degrees right away in the morning, even just the surface temp, it's, in my opinion, that's when I don't even target them. And it's just too stressful on the fish. And this 90 plus degree weather that has just been plaguing our state has really just made it tough to muskie fish, and tough to justify going out and tangling with a big fish that could possibly die after you landed. But even when those temperatures have come down and it's been possible to go out, it's been a tough year for a lot of the people I know that muskie fish a lot more than I do. So I don't feel too bad with my low number so far, but it's a long season, and I'm hoping it's going to be a good fall. We're starting to see some more normal temperatures, and I hope that as time goes on here, we're going to get some more stable, normal weather, and those muskies will start firing up a little bit. I have actually gone out a couple times this past week, and I noticed a lot more activity. And I had another buddy that caught a nice fish the other day on the first cast. So, I think things are starting to look up, and I think we can look forward to some good muskie fishing coming pretty soon. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to go over my year so far on the water, and what I've been noticing out there across the state. So like I said, hope to have my co-host here next week, Brandon. We'll probably talk more muskie fishing next week. and what's been working for him. He's our muskie expert here on the podcast, so we'll probably get more in depth on that side of things next week. And we just got to figure out the technical side of things. That's been the biggest obstacle to creating this podcast. But I want to thank you guys for checking it out, and I hope to hear from you guys. Like I said, my goal is to have this be a real interactive podcast, and just a great way to share information across the state. I've always felt that anglers in Wisconsin are just, on it's a real connection, and a real great community, and I just hope this can be part of that community, and I hope to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys are doing on the water, and what you want to hear us talk about. So thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you next week.